Hi, this is Hank reporting from Kyiv, and this is my update on Russian-Ukrainian war. Let's see what happened around Ukraine in the last 24 hours. War map update. Night attacks on Kyiv and Kharkiv. Ukrainian app awarded by the Time magazine. Russian weapons at NPP. Nordic countries invest in Ukrainian artillery. Swarm of drones revealed. Drone attack Chechnya. The results. Drones and missiles attacks stats. Russian losses, artillery milestone. Let's start with the bad news. The Russians have completely occupied at least 2 settlements in Donbass, Vishneva and Zorine, and another one, Selidovo, is under big question right now. I marked this section on the front with the red circle on the map. Yes, these are rather small settlements, but nevertheless, even small losses are losses. They are pressing in and in some places pushing through our defenses, mile after mile. This month we have lost the maximum amount of territory for the entire year. Next week these sad statistics should appear and we will see how it looks like in comparison. Not the best start of the day, but from this front there is an encouraging message from our artillerymen. It sounds like this, quote, "In the direction of Kurachovo, our artillery received a large number of shells. Any advance of the enemy will only be at a huge price. In those settlements that they occupied, they are not allowed to stick out their heads." That's the situation. For 2 nights in a row, the Russians have been attacking Kyiv and other cities with some success, if damage to residential buildings can be called success. This photo from Kyiv was taken a day ago, and this night the damage was less. 9 people were injured, including a child, but fortunately there were no fatalities in the capital. In this video you see rescuers resuscitating a cat that was injured during the attack. The apartment where the Shahed hit burned down completely, but he was lucky to survive. They say he has already been handed over to his owners. This is very touching. In 2022, when the Russians burned down my house in Mariupol, 7 of my cats burned alive in it. I still don't know why they weren't taken to the basement. We no longer had an internet connection with Mariupol at that time. Now it may seem that I'm talking about this calmly as nothing special, but it was very difficult to comprehend. I lived through this grief for a long time, probably a year or more. It still hurts, but I think it's important to talk about it out loud so that the story doesn't disappear. The losses of loved ones and pets are the hardest things in this war. The situation in Kharkiv is much worse. Last night the Russians dropped an air bomb on a residential building. As you can see from the video, apartments on at least 5 floors were destroyed. At least 34 people were injured. 1 man and 2 boys aged 12 and 15 died under the rubble. Damn it, as of Thursday morning, rescuers are still clearing away the rubble. There may be more people there. We all can't let Putin win so that he and his assistants can get away with all these hundreds of thousands of such crimes. History and the future will not forgive us for this. And here in Kharkiv, the security service arrested this idiot. This is a scientist who helped the Russians modernize Iranian Shaheds to bomb his hometown of Kharkiv more successfully. I can imagine what's going on in this man's head. Your city is bombed every day with buried children, and this bomb can fly into your own house. What are you thinking? This is what the catapult for launching Shaheds looks like. This is his work. Plus, the crazy old man helped improve the engines for them. He faces 12 years in prison, considering that at the moment he's already 72 years old, then this is probably the stupidest opportunity in history to ruin the end of your life. At the same time, Serbian President Aleksandar Vucic spoke with Putin and asked him about the ceasefire in Ukraine, to which Putin responded with only a phrase, "All the goals of special military operations will be fulfilled." Let me remind you that he has not explained his goals for 32 months in a row. More precisely, he didn't announce them at the beginning or doesn't reveal them now because they are constantly changing, but he certainly doesn't refuse to stop killing sleeping children with his bombs. Remember the conversation with Macron when, in response to the proposal to hold talks on de-escalation, the dictator told the French president that he was busy going to play hockey. Logical continuation of the idea. How do you imagine the situation if Trump calls Putin with his super offer to end this war in 24 hours, as he says? What can Putin answer? And what will Trump do after that? I swear I wish I could never in my life think about what those two might or might not say or do I wish I just didn't have to think about it, but here I am in the middle of a war and my future depends on their actions. Okay, I need some good news to calm down a little bit. One of the rare good events is that the Ukrainian mobile application Diia was included in the list of the best inventions of 2024 according to the Time magazine. Similar awards were held by OpenAI, Duolingo, Zoom. The award itself is related to the innovative service Online Marriage, which we seem to have organized first in the world, and this is directly related to our realities. During the war, many of our citizens cannot be together physically and cannot go to the registry office to get married. If, for example, a soldier at the front and he and his bride decide to formalize their relationship, now they can do it online and then hold the ceremony and gather loved ones for an offline celebration. By the way, Diia, this is a really convenient thing. If you don't know, we have the Ministry of Digital Transformation, which is engaged in the transfer of bureaucratic processes into the category of automatic online services. For example, I have my passport in the app and it has the same legal force as a paper book. I can sign documents at the bank using my smartphone. My diplomas, birth certificate and driver's license are also automatically displayed there. Now you don't need to carry documents with you, a smartphone is enough. Here it is, the future is here. In this video you can see how Russians installed an anti-aircraft gun and shoot at our drones from the territory of the Zaporizhzhia nuclear power plant, which they occupied in 2022. I have said many times that the very fact of occupying the largest nuclear power plant in Europe is already a terrible event of global importance. If it explodes, the entire planet will have to deal with the consequences bigger than Chernobyl in 1986, and the Russians are constantly scaring us with this. They have already fired at the surrounding area, set fire to car tires and a cooling tower to simulate an accident and scare us all. Now they have simply installed weapons there, contrary to all possible safety regulations. Of course, this is done so we cannot destroy it, because we are not idiots to shoot at a nuclear power plant. Also, investigators from the Cyber group have already found on the map the exact location of these pipes and the building in the frame. Here you can compare. I have no conclusions. The International Atomic Energy Agency doesn't care. Their chief, Rafael Grossi, didn't see any violations at the station. Not my responsibility. It reminds me of my family, where no one wanted to look at the problem and then it was as if it didn't exist. At the Ukraine-Northern Europe Summit, following Denmark, which finances the production of Bogdana artillery guns here in Ukraine, 4 more countries, Norway, Sweden, Finland and Iceland, confirmed their participation in financing the production of weapons in Ukraine. As the Minister of Strategic Industries, German Smetanin, says, a year ago they began developing plans to increase the financing of our own production because the capabilities exceed the amount of available resources. Roughly speaking, we could build more, but during a war there is not enough money for this. Thanks to the help of our partners, we are now able to produce, quote from President Zelensky, almost 20 Bogdana self-propelled guns per month, which use the NATO caliber of 155 mm. Sounds encouraging. It seems like there is progress. It seems like we are leveling out in quantity and exceeding the quality of Russian artillery. I can only think about how our soldiers have enough strength to endure all this. Minister Smetanin also showed a swarm of drones that we are developing. We have a state grant program, Brave One, and 17 manufacturers that are working on developing the drone industry. This has definitely become our trump card in this war. It's hard to imagine what would have happened to us if someone had not duct-taped a projectile to an FPV drone in 2022. Here is a clear evolution of war. I like that we have innovation. They say a lot about the fact that we should give an asymmetric response to the occupiers because we do not have so many people and equipment, which means we must be smarter. In my opinion, all our developments will now be a standard for the military around the world. Yeah, in general, this is already being implemented. All armies are learning from our war and developing appropriate technologies of action and counteraction. I want all the Russians after this war to look at our defense technologies and say hell no and to cross themselves. 2 days ago, we received information that a drone attacked the building of the Special Forces University in Chechnya, and there are a lot of inconsistencies here. On the screen you see a screenshot from a Russian website dated December 15, year 2016, where it says, International Special Forces Training Center, what is being created for the security forces. The internet says that they plan to build a half military, half tourist facility there. Well, everything is in the spirit of Kadyrov, half soldiers, half actors. The building was supposedly built in 2016, but in 2023 it was still listed as under construction, and in August of this year, Putin visited it, as stated on the Kremlin website. Judging by Kadyrov's first statement, the drone allegedly hit an empty building under construction. I took this screenshot from the official video. On the left you can see Kadyrov's logo. In the picture you can see a slightly burned roof, which is in principle can be taken as truth. But then comes classic nonsense from Kadyrov, and he claims that at each strategic facility in Chechnya he holds 10 Ukrainian prisoners of war, and that this drone allegedly killed 10 of our people. Being a person of not very great intelligence, he probably didn't think that covering military facilities with prisoners is a direct violation of the 1949 Geneva Convention of the Rules of Warfare, and that there will be also retribution for this in the future. Of course, Russia and its vassals have already demonstratively violated all possible rules, but okay, tomorrow will come anyway, and war crimes have no statute of limitations. Here I want to make a small remark. If we assume that the building of the Special Forces University is empty or half empty, then what is the point of attacking it? About the same as attacking offices in Moscow City skyscrapers with drones. This is a demonstration of capabilities, and it means that now Kadyrov will put pressure on Putin to give him more air defense systems to protect his nature reserve in the south. And the most interesting thing is that there is no confirmation at all that these drones were launched from Ukraine and not from neighboring Dagestan, to which Kadyrov recently declared a blood feud after a shutout in Moscow because they could not divide the large business wild berries. Don't ask me when I have time to study and fact-check all this. Last night, unfortunately, we suffered losses. In total, the Russians launched 12 missiles at us, and we were able to intercept only 2 of them. Our cities were attacked from the south, east and north, everything as usual. Near Odessa, the missiles hit the bridge to complicate our logistics. Out of 43 drones we were able to shoot down and land all 43, but the debris caused some damage in Kyiv, which I talked about at the beginning of the video. The statistics also indicate 146 aerial bombs, some of which hit Kharkiv. Despite the fact that these air targets we do not have means to shoot them down, and thus we can count 43 drones plus 12 missiles plus 146 aerial bombs in total, it turns out that Russia launched 201 air targets at us. And that's a lot. It's a very strange feeling when you are afraid of the sky above your head. I first felt it in the beginning of the invasion. Then I get used to it. Over the past day, the Russians lost another 1,310 soldiers. In total, their losses have grown to 694,950 soldiers, not counting those who died in the hospital. This could have been the population of a large city. They could have taken care of their families, but they chose to become occupiers and rot somewhere in Ukrainian fields. Today, we also crossed the psychologically important mark of 20,000 destroyed artillery systems. This includes everything from mortars to large self-propelled guns of all calibers. A huge number, just an incredible number. I'm glad that we are closing the gap. Everyone said that initially the Russians had 8-1 advantage, and now they have about 3-1. I hope that the remaining guns have already exhausted their service life and will soon fall apart. I found information that only 2 factories can produce barrels for tanks and artillery in Russia, and this is only about 100 units per year. We destroy it in a week, but they cannibalize ancient equipment and remove old barrels. This is certainly not an increase in production, but for now it helps them restore equipment. Let's wait until the end of the year, when some statistics will be known, and perhaps our intelligence will tell us how much equipment Putin still has left and when it might run out. That's probably all the news for today. I still need to study the other topics, and I'll tell you some of them in November. Over the past months, I launched a paid advertising on YouTube. My channel has grown from 300 to 700 people. This is a wonderful result. Since May of this year, I have already made 93 videos, and it's still unusual for me to consider myself a YouTuber. I just put together a list of topics that I want to talk about and possibly discuss with the people from other countries. When I read comments and letters of support from people on the other side of the planet, it gives me hope that we are not alone here and that the war will in the visible future end. I can hardly imagine that what will happen next. Firstly, I'll have to go and film what's left of my city, see what was done to my house where my loved ones are buried, and probably go to lawn therapy after this. The stranger thing is that it's impossible to imagine how to bring life back to Mariupol. There is no one and nothing there that was dear to me, and the worst thing is that it's not just a clean slate, but now everything is smeared with a tricolor, and people who remain there are perceived as traitors. Also, many simply didn't have the opportunity to live. It seems to me that this will be a separate huge chapter in life, which is still difficult to imagine. I'm very grateful to everyone who subscribes, watches and comments on these videos, and also for every donation. Out of my and my subscribers' money, I closed the fundraiser for New Era Reconnaissance Unit yesterday. It's not that big, only $200, but it will be helpful. This was my update on the Russian-Ukrainian war for day 981. In November, it will be 1000. Take care, and I hope to see you tomorrow.